Welcome to the Manders Mindset podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Welcome to Manders Mindset, where we explore the power of shifting your mindset to shift your life. I'm your host, Amanda Russo, and I am here today with an awesome guest who I am really excited to chat with. I am here with Rick, and Rick is a certified financial planner based out of Dallas, and he is the CEO of Salmeron Financial, an independent financial advisor. And he's been doing this for a long time, guys, longer than I've been alive. Since 1990, he's been guiding individuals, families, and business owners to help them put their hard-earned income and money on the right path, their path, not someone else's. We all have blind spots in every area of our life, and money is a big one that a lot of us have a blind spot in because it's not something we talk about. So I am so excited to delve into this with Rick today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Amanda, thanks for having me. Great to be here with you. I love it.
So we chatted about this off air, and I've actually never asked this on the podcast, but I loved your answer. So I'm going to ask you this, Rick. How are you today?
I am trustworthy, responsible, loving, outward-focused, courageous, honest, solution-oriented, blessed, healthy, and supportive. Thank you for asking.
I love that response. I've got to say, even out of responses explaining you being more so, I've never heard that descriptive of one. Where did this come from?
I love that question. It came from a personal development retreat that I took about 6 years ago, something like that. That helps remind me of my beingness. That question, how are you, is something that all of us float around on a regular daily basis that goes in one ear and out the other. And we really don't think about it. It's one of those auto response, I'm fine, I'm good, or whatever. Yet it really doesn't mean much. And when I realized that, gosh, I could use that question as an opportunity daily, because everyone is asking that question at least once a day, right? To remind myself of who I am. That would be, call it by verbal tattoo. When people ask me that question, I respond in that manner. And it's not always that response. I just reach into myself, find into my intuition what those beingness is at that moment, spit it out, and I yell it out, and I vocalize it. So that gives me, my internal nervous system, that opportunity to soak that in and remind myself of how I am being and the way that I am, because how I be is how I do, and it's how I have in life.
And so intuitively you switch them up based on...
I don't know how I responded yesterday, but I had 2-3 people ask me that question yesterday, and here come a few other beingnesses just up on the spur of the moment. And that's not the only list. The laundry list is very long. Mine and yours, Amanda, and anyone listening to this, your beingness is very long, whether you realize it or not. It's all inside you. And when we remind ourselves of our greatness, when we remind ourselves of our wonderful being characteristics as human beings, that helps me at least pause and reflect on the results in my life. And am I really adoring my results, or there's some results in my life that could be better, or I could have more of, or something different, whatever the case might be. And if there's a gap that I'm identifying at that moment, maybe the solution to get to where I want to go is found in my beingness. So as an example, relationships. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm not a personal development coach or a mindset coach or something like you are, Amanda. I just am an avid student of personal development. And when I work on myself, everything in my life changes for the better if I'm working on myself for the better. So as an example with relationships, if I want a great relationship in my life, whether that be a personal one or a professional one, how do I attract a great relationship? I need to be great. If I'm not great, I'm not going to attract a great relationship. So instead of me, and I used to think this way years ago, instead of me finding what I think is a great relationship, I'll dive into, if I had a great relationship, then I could do so many things and then I could be really happy or joyful or something. Doesn't work that way. It's the opposite. If I want to have a great relationship, I need to start with me. I need to start with my beingness. If I be great, if I be dependable, if I be trustworthy, I am going to have far more opportunities to attract great relationships and have those relationships that are attracted to someone who is honest and courageous and responsible and trustworthy.
Now, did you notice a difference in your life when you started?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And you don't notice the difference until you start to feel and experience the difference, if that makes any sense. What I'm getting at, this goes to my reason to focus on my self-esteem throughout my life. If someone asks me the question, Rick, what's the best place to invest my money? Where should I go? And it's not a response that people expect. It's not XYZ stock or ABC fund or this area this year. I never respond that way. Instead, if there was one single thing that I would recommend anyone investing time and money in, that would be their self-esteem, their self-estimate, how they like themselves, how they love themselves, because that is the beginning, at least in my view, that is the beginning of everything. It influences every single decision that I make. It influenced the decision for me to pitch you to come onto this podcast. My self-esteem is a silent partner resting on my shoulder, whispering sweet nothings in my ear, answering the question when I come up to opportunities personally and professionally. Am I worthy of this? Do I deserve this? Am I good enough for this? Do these things sound familiar? So many times prior to discovering the power of self-esteem, the answer to those questions was no. Can I have a great relationship? I would answer no subconsciously because I didn't feel like I deserved it. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel well enough about myself that I deserved a great relationship in my life or a thriving business or a wonderful clientele and so on. So I guess circling back to your original question, my life results today, since I started to focus on how can I best fertilize and fortify my self-esteem bucket, is amazing. And the momentum that I have created over this span of years, and it just took a day, one single day to focus on this, and then the trajectory turns from one direction to another. The results don't change overnight, but the direction does change overnight. Life results blossom. They blossom. I've got an amazing relationship with my family, my wife, my clients, my neighbors, my siblings, that I could go on and on. We don't have enough time for me to list all the great things that I feel like are happening in my life. And I don't have a perfect life, don't get me wrong. When I compare, though, to my life where it's at today versus, say, 2017, where I began discovering the power of self-esteem, it's a night and day comparison, frankly. And I wish the same for anyone else.
So how did you start discovering self-esteem? Was it the conference?
I took a 3-day conference in 2017. At that time, I was single. I was divorced, dating a woman. We were doing fine. My kids loved me. I loved them back. My business was good. My health was fine. No complaints. Many people would love to swap lives with me at that time. However, everything I would say was fine. In a 4-letter word, fine. I didn't really recognize what I was missing out, but that's another topic for a bit. But as I was dating this woman, she said to me, Rick, I took this 3-day class a few years ago. It really was life-changing and transformational. Maybe you want to check it out. And I took that kind of personally. I thought, What is she talking about? What's the matter with me? I've got nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong in my life. So when she invited me to take this class, my mouth said yes. I wanted to support the relationship, but my heart said no. This was nuts. There's nothing wrong with me. Why would I need to go take a 3-day class? And what was even better for me at that time, the company who ran the class had this policy. If you attend every single day to the end and you conclude you got no value out of it whatsoever, they will give me my money back. So this is great. I'll attend this 3-day class. I'll go back home, report back to my girlfriend, thanking her for the opportunity. I'll tell this company I got nothing out of it, which I wouldn't. I was convinced. I'll get my money back. It was like the ultimate win situation. So I attend the class Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and at the end of Sunday, it was as if a large basket of bricks came from the sky and hit me right on the head. I was viewing myself in ways that I couldn't see. I recognized and realized how I was showing up in the world. I saw spotlights coming from different angles, not, I'm saying metaphorically, but I was able to see myself from angles that I could not see because we all have blinders on, right? We all walk around with blinders and we don't know what we don't know. And when you do discover those areas, and it's not a fun process, but when you do discover those areas that could really receive some amazing, great improvements, then some really great things happen. So this journey really all began, I'd say 7 years ago. The girlfriend that I was dating back then, at that time, I was divorced. I was not getting married again. There's no way. I mean, it was marriage's fault. It wasn't my fault, right? I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to get divorced again. So that girlfriend that introduced me to this class, we're now married. And in fact, at the end of that third day, I called her, I wrote her a letter. I said, we're getting married, honey. And that's exactly what she wanted. And I didn't, but I realized that it was not marriage's fault. It was my fault. If I want a great marriage, guess what? I need to be great. I need to be great to have a great marriage. And now we've celebrated 6 years of happy bliss. Our marriage is a 12 out of 10, we like to say, and we like to brag, and we're finding new heights. It's been an amazing journey. So I like the direction. I like this direction. And it all came down to discovering this one area. There's many areas to work on, but again, the self-esteem is so critical. It's been so key and paramount to changing my life and my life results. That's why I'm getting on shows like this to spread the word.
I love that. That made my heart so happy hearing that you married her.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now, you first got into self-esteem in 2017. So back growing up, did you not have good self-esteem like growing up as a kid?
Well, when we're children, we all experience life events. Like when we're born, this is where really the beingness comes from, in my view. When we're born, day one, we are born with all the amazing qualities to have an incredible, amazing life. So just bring to mind a small child, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old. What are some of the qualities that come to mind when you consider a very young child? They are they're exploratory, they're courageous, they're brave, they're urgent. If they're walking in a toy store and they see a doll or they see a car on the shelf, when do they want that doll or when do they want that car? They don't want it next week. They don't want it next month or next year. They want it right now. They want it right now. They are honest. They are loving. They are energetic. They are all these great qualities. So these qualities that very young children have when they are born are these qualities only found in children born in North America and no other continents? No, every child has these, right? So all is all. It's not like one does and one doesn't have. We all had these incredible qualities. And what happens over time is we have life experiences as children from age 1 through 18. Little things happen, larger things happen. What might seem to be a little thing to us adults can be a very big thing to a young child. And these life experiences are how we personally develop belief systems about the world and ourselves. We are not born dishonest people. We are born honest people. We learn how to be dishonest because we see and experience dishonesty, even coming from our parents. Even if it's as small as someone knocking on the front door and your mother saying, whispering, "Don't do anything, we're not home." Those kinds of things are very minute to you and I, perhaps, but for a small child, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be something that I'm not, and that is honest in moments like this. So what happens to us as children is our self-esteem gets affected by that. We have a lower belief system, in my view, about ourselves because of these life experiences. And when we're 18, 95% of our belief systems about the world and about us are locked in place. They're really hard to change. It's not impossible to change, but they're really hard to change. So for myself, and I would say I'd speak for a lot of other people, when I was a child growing up, I felt great about life. And then as time went on, people making fun of me and looking at making fun of my stomach or my legs or something, you become this conscious body image as an example, and we don't feel so great about ourselves. And that puts a lot of long-term limitations on our happiness and on our joy. So that's
Yeah.
how it happened for me and probably for a lot of other people.
So after the conference, you tell her you're getting married. Then what? Then what did you start doing?
Well, I started to change my actions. I started to become more self-aware. That was the 3-day conference, was a major league self-awareness immersion, very concentrated. Had I depended on myself to become self-aware of my thoughts and what those thoughts are, because thoughts become things, thoughts drive the actions that I take. If I had depended on that happening on my own, nothing would have changed. But the 3-day class was this huge self-awareness class that made me become far more self-aware. So from that moment, I recognized, it's funny, I'm always behaving this way. When I'm driving in traffic, that the traffic is busy and people are like cutting in front of me and I'm getting irritated. I wouldn't have noticed that irritation. That was like a natural default feel. Yet after this self-awareness, it occurred to me, why am I feeling that way? What's triggering this anxiety feeling? What's triggering this feeling of irritation? And over time, I've come to recognize, and this has been a hard rule for me to adopt, yet it's true, that all events, whatever events, are completely neutral. It is up to me to decide, is this something that is beneficial for me or something not beneficial for me? So very small things or even very big things, when I notice myself getting triggered, if emotions are coming up that are causing me to feel anger or fear or a lot of negative emotions, now I'm pausing and I'm wondering, why is this happening? And was it because of some childhood episode that makes me behave or react this way? And usually the answer is kind of a yes, a solid yes. So that's a moment that I can take to do a mini reset at the moment, a mini transformation of changing the first answer to those 3 questions of, am I worthy? Do I deserve it? Am I good enough? From no to yes. As a business owner, I never felt like I was good enough to work with higher net worth individuals. I wasn't good enough. I didn't deserve to work with higher net worth individuals. And now I am working with multimillionaires. I'm working with decamillionaires. I'm working with 9-figure individuals. I never would have felt that I was deserving of that or good enough. Yet the truth is, I do deserve it. I am good enough because I'm a valuable person. I am valuable. And if I really believe that, If I believe that I am valuable, then I will act like I'm a valuable person, and that attracts other valuable people.
I love all of that. I want to backtrack a tad. Wh- So you've been in financial planning for a long time. Were you in your upbringing, childhood, was money discussed a lot? Was that, I'm curious, like that's a long time. So what is this something you knew early on that you wanted to get into?
Yes, this has been a familiar zone for me, and I know that not everyone has this familiarity. Again, going back to childhood, it comes to life experiences. All these life experiences don't need to be negative. Some are, and some aren't. So people ask me, well, how did you get in this business? You've been a money person for so long. When did all this start? And it didn't start in 1990 for me. It actually started when I was age 8 years old. When I was 8 years old, I was having breakfast at the kitchen table on a Saturday morning. My mother approaches me. She places her hand on my shoulder and she says, Rick, today's going to be a very special day for you because I am going to take you to a place called a savings and loan, and we are going to open up a savings account for you. And I looked at her and I said, what does that mean, Mom? She said, honey, if you will let them keep your money, they will pay you money for keeping your money. As a young 8-year-old, I still didn't quite get it. However, what was good for my mom was good enough for me. So I dropped my spoon and my Fruit Loops. We went into the car. We drove to the savings alone. I proceeded to empty my pockets with several coins of change from weeks and weeks of allowance, $10 worth of money. My mother matched that with another $10. And my first savings account was born with $20. Now, it wasn't until 90 days later, that $20, Amanda, I got my first statement in the mail. It grew to $20.15. I could not believe it. All I had to do was put my money at this place and just walk away and carry on with my life, and it would grow. Where's my next allowance? I'm going to continue this pattern. This instilled a life experience in me that I have never forgot. I can tell that story today as if it happened last weekend. When I left my first and only corporate America job in 1990, I wondered, what can I do now that I can be my own business owner, entrepreneur? And I noticed this pattern from age 8. I bought my first house at age 22. I invested in my first stock at age 18. I maxed out on my first and only corporate America company's retirement plan and didn't have a second thought. I figured out how to live on what was left over. So I always had this inherent natural DNA of behavior and actions that were very positive to building wealth and saving money. So it's natural to me. So it occurred to me, these are not secrets to me. It's obvious what to do, yet I'll bet a lot of people really don't know what to do. I can create a business with this. I can create a business of showing people the secrets, and they're really not secrets. They're just actions that we take and actions that we avoid to create and pave a path to ultimate financial freedom and financial independence and financial liberty, whatever that might be for that person. That's how it began.
That must have been impressive for you, though, as an 8-year-old, seeing, even though it's only 15 cents, it increased,
It was
and
visceral image I still have in my mind. I know what that statement looks like. And it was like a dot basic tricks printer or something. You got it in the mail, and I can still see those numbers etched in my memory.
I'm sure, especially because you didn't fully understand how it increased. So it was
Yeah,
like,
I know.
well, it's like you're making money. Look at how you're 8 years old. Like that's
Yes.
okay.
And I am a trustworthy person. That's another beingness. And when I saw that, I trusted this process. I trusted that if I behaved in this manner, if I, for example, moved my allowance to this savings and loan, that more of this, I would have more. I was trustworthy of the process. My actions that I took were moving more allowance that way. And what did I have at the end result? A larger bank balance.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned actions before, and then you mentioned actions we avoid. What actions do we avoid?
Well, when you take a look at your life results, this can be for your money, this can be for your health, this can be for your relationships. Take a look at your money or your life results right now. Everything that I have today is because of the actions that I took or avoided yesterday, 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If I want to get a good guide of where Rick's life is going to look like in 5 years in the future or in 10 years in the future, then I need to see what my life trajectory is looking like today, because my actions, my daily actions have produced the life that I have, this 12 out of 10 marriage that I have with my wife, the incredible relationship that I have with my kids, the health that I have as a 60-year-old is pretty good for a 60-year-old. So it's our life results are not because of some exterior outside event. It's not because that I won the lottery one day. It's not because that a long lost great uncle died and suddenly this inheritance is coming in my direction. You can wait for those things if you want. You can choose to count on those external moments to happen to fulfill your life. You'll probably be waiting for the rest of your life because it's not going to happen. So if those exterior events that are not going to happen are not going to happen, then what are we left with? We're left with what we're doing day in and day out. These actions that we take, they're all grains of sand that we are using to either build a beautiful sand castle or a very boring, dull, ugly mound. It's completely up to us to design what we want to design with the grains of sand that we have. And that's what I refer to as the actions. They're really these grains of sand. And some of the grains of sand do not serve us well. I'm guilty of this too. So not all my life results are magnificent. I've got a lot to improve on also. When I notice the not so great results in my life, that's my trigger to what needs to change here, because I don't want this to continue. If it's important to me, I don't want this to continue for much longer.
So, what needs to happen for that? And do you usually start coming up with ideas?
Well, for me, it comes down to self-awareness. This can be very challenging because my subconscious is driving my wheel. It's driving everyone's wheel. And it's very easy to not see what the subconscious is doing. This really comes down to self-esteem. Self-esteem is a big part of the subconscious in my view, but it's not my conscious making my decisions for me, it's my subconscious. So the more I can be paying attention to what my subconscious is doing, the more I can recognize what I feel like I need to change. My subconscious does not care about my personal goals. It does not care about me achieving something. All it cares about is keeping me safe and keeping me alive. That's all it's there for. It's a good thing for many events in life. My subconscious is telling me no when I'm debating, should I cross the highway from one end to the other with all these cars zipping back and forth at 100 miles an hour. My subconscious is telling me no. I want it to say no to that. So my subconscious can help save my life, which it's designed to, but the subconscious does not know the difference between me getting run over by speeding cars versus me pursuing a greater, higher business goal or a greater, higher relationship. Because everything that is different outside of my comfort zone is dangerous to my subconscious. Everything that is the same inside my comfort zone is safe to my subconscious. So my subconscious will do whatever it possibly can to keep me in my comfort zone because it wants to protect me. It's up to me to decide, and I do this through self-awareness. It's me to decide if is what I am considering something that is expanding my comfort zone, growing me, while also keeping me alive for the betterment and for the good of myself and my life. If it is, then I need to be prepared for my subconscious to be saying, no, Rick, don't do this. Don't take the step forward. I need to be aware enough, self-aware enough to recognize and tell my subconscious, thank you for telling me that. May I just simply now pick you up ever so gently, place you on this chair over here in the corner. You sit there while I continue on with my life. Okay. If I can personify my subconscious in that manner, then I can find myself expanding that comfort zone, which then expands my life results. And I'm always wanting to expand my life results for the better. Aren't we all?
Yeah. Or we should be. I heard you mention on a different podcast, I want to transition a tad, but you mentioned an analogy I had never heard of, and I was so fascinated with, about the peace of mind square.
Yes. The peace of mind square is a philosophy that I live by also, and everyone has this. If you draw a square on a piece of paper, 4 sides, right? A standard square. Every person has a peace of mind square that labels each side this way. Side 1 is your health. Side 2 is your relationships. Side 3 is your contribution or your giving back or how you show up in the world. And side 4 is your money and your finances. When you take a look at that pretty much covers most areas of life, wouldn't you say? If you take a look at your 4 sides, your own personal 4 sides, rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feel you are in those 4 areas with your health, with your relationships, with your contribution, and with your money. 1 being, it's the worst ever. 10 being, it is incredible, amazing, bullseye jackpot, or something in between. If you're able to score yourself a 10 out of 10 on all 4 sides, then you've reached peace of mind, haven't you? Most people don't have a 10 out of 10. There's usually I know a lot of people who their physical health is incredible because they're at the gym all the time and they're working out and their biceps are bulging out of their shirts and they got not just 6-pack, but 12-pack abs. But their relationships are horrible because they're not spending any time anywhere other than the gym, right? Or people who are so successful in business, they're making buku money and gobs of income and building up this incredible net worth, yet their health sucks because they're burning the candle at 4 or 5 different ends and they're clocking 14, 16, 8-hour days. So everyone has got a stronger side than another, but there's always going to be some kind of lopsided one. So when I focus on my peace of mind square, some people could call it perhaps a balanced life. I like to call it the peace of mind square. If I can get to a 10 out of 10 on all my sides of my square, I've received peace of mind. So take a look at your own square. What areas do you feel like you could be better at? Is it health? Is it relationships? Is it how you're showing up in the world or how people see you? What your personal brand is, or is it your money situation? And that is where you need to assess perhaps changing some of the actions that you're doing on a daily basis to get those to that 10 out of 10 score.
So you look at that instead of like, is life balance? You know, everybody says that like you need work-life balance and balance with this. I don't fully believe those balance.
You can only focus on one thing every given hour of the day, right? Now, maybe after you do that over a day or a week or a month or a year, again, you can step back and assess, okay, how am I doing on these, in my concept, the 4 sides of my peace of mind square? And you can either feel really proud about what you've accomplished, recognizing there's still some room for improvement, or you can feel perhaps really bad and say, gosh, something needs to change here, right? So in either case, if you are proud of the results that you see, or you're really not, you're really, frankly, very embarrassed with the results that you see, this is a moment. This is a moment for you to improve and enhance your self-esteem. Will be that jet fuel to get those peace of mind squares in the shape that you want them to be. When people have higher self-esteem, when they love themselves more so than anything else, when you love yourself, you care about your future. You want your tomorrow to be better than today. You want your 2025 to be better than it was in 2024. When you care about yourself, when you feel like you're valuable, when you're your biggest fan in your life, then you start to focus on, how can I improve? How can I be better? How can I be that version 2.0 of myself sooner than later? Take that as an opportunity to fertilize and fulfill and replenish that self-esteem bucket at whatever state it's at. That's really a true key to life transformation and change.
I like how you said that you care about your future. I've heard so many people talk about, like, you take care of yourself and you this. I've never heard it says that you care, but that makes so much sense because you
Hmm.
are focusing on where you want to go.
Yeah. When you take a look at, just bring to mind some of the great people that you admire in your life. Think of your own personal goals, whatever they might be. And these would be goals that are really, you feel like they're almost impossible, if not impossible, right? If you consider your personal goals, bring to mind someone that you know personally, or you know of personally, that has already achieved or already attained that goal, whatever that goal is. Okay. So you have that person in mind. Now consider, what are the qualities that person you experience has? Would it be they're courageous? Would it be they are brave? Would it be they are loving? Would it be they are caring? They are strong? They are urgent? They are honest? When you list those qualities, where do we know those qualities are in this podcast episode? They were when we were born, weren't they? This is how I see it, at least. These are people, the people that come to my mind who have attained greatness as I pursue my own greatness. If someone else has already done it, then why not me? Why not me? And when I can bring to mind those qualities that person has, the courageousness, the honesty, the bravery, and so on, those are qualities that I have too. And I know that because I was born one day. I was born with all those amazing qualities. We all have those incredible, amazing qualities inside us. And when we start to focus on loving ourselves, liking ourselves, building our self-esteem to brand new higher levels, that power starts to lift up the internal windows that we have held inside ourselves since children for the longest time. That opens up the windows to those human qualities that we all have to come out, because they've been locked up for a very long time. That's why I'm not at that level. I tell myself, I'm not at that level. I don't have that kind of relationship. I don't have that kind of health because I'm not using the amazing qualities that I have as a human being that I've had ever since the first day that I was born.
I like that you mentioned qualities because everybody talks about looking at who's done it and it's what did they do? How did they do it? Or you'll come up with these excuses like you don't have the money like they have, you don't have this that they have, but it's what are their qualities? And anybody can you can be trustworthy. You don't need external things. You don't need to be somewhere. You can have those qualities.
We were all born trustworthy. Now, do we trust everything now? No, we don't. Why? Because of those life experiences. And that's not to say that being untrustworthy is a bad thing. That can really help us. We don't want to trust everything because there are dangers out there. there are dangers that can really negatively affect our lives. So it's not to say that the opposite of the great beingness is necessarily a bad thing. It can be a good thing, but it could also not be a good thing for us, because if I'm too untrustworthy, if every possible opportunity that avails me, if I look at it and I look at it with a frown and I don't trust this, then who knows what I'm missing? Who knows what I'm missing out on? So it's not easy. It's hard to figure out what that balance. We all have our own unique balances, right? Depending on what we want in our life, what our goals are. So that's our subconscious, again, at work, protecting us from harm, keeping us safe, keeping us alive. And that can be very helpful at times. And sometimes it not. Sometimes it brings us down. Some people are more risk takers than others. And those people who take the risks usually enjoy the rewards, but risk can also be seen as a four-letter word, because it is a four-letter word. And our subconscious makes a step back from the word risk or any kind of risk. So I try to reframe risk to be opportunity. And that way I can go down the road a little bit further and explore and see, does this fit with my life and my life's purpose? Will this help me get to my next 10 out of 10 on my peace of mind square? If so, let me go walk down this path and see what happens and build some momentum.
Now, I want to touch upon a different quote I heard you say in a podcast, and I loved it. And I'd love if you could elaborate on why and how you believe this. And I'm also curious, even from the financial planner lens, but you said if you control your mindset, you'll control your money.
Yes. If you control your mindset, you control your money. Because if you control your mindset, this goes back to self-esteem, in my view. When you control your mindset, triggers your actions. Your mindset creates the thoughts that you have in your mind. We not think. Our brains are always thinking about something all the time. We can't put a pause on thoughts. Thoughts happen all the time. So when we control those thoughts, we control our actions or our inactions. So if, again, we feel great about ourselves, when we feel great about ourselves, we care about our future. That's the idea with self-esteem. And when I care about my future, I care about how I spend my money. I care about how I allocate my money. I decide with this next $10 bill, do I go blow it on video games, or do I put it in a savings account for my child or for myself, or for that, down payment on a car or something? I know $10 is not a lot, but that's just a micro example of my choice of how I spend money. And again, it's not right or wrong. I may need video games in my life, but I personally don't. So when I make my choices carefully, knowing that this is another example of a seed of the grain of sand of my beautiful sandcastle, I want to use that decision. I want to use that action in a manner that is going to be fulfilling for what's important to me and for what's important to my values. So when we control our thoughts, when we control our mindset, and we recognize what is our mind saying to us and what is our mind thinking at the moment, then we can have a better control of how we act and how we show up, and those actions that we take, the daily actions that we take. So you take a look at your net worth statement, you take a look at your tax return, you take a look at your balance sheet. Those are reflections of those actions that you took ever since your life, or ever since last year. Those are the results. This is what I am committed to when I see my personal net worth statement, when I see my income tax return. This is what I am committed myself to this year. And if I like the results that I see, then I need to continue on the pace that I'm at. If, on the other hand, I want to see something better or more or different, then I need to be changing up some actions or eliminating others. And that all begins with this self-awareness.
Do you think words people say, like, for example, if somebody says, I can't afford whatever it is, affects whether they can?
Yes, it's you. If you can't afford something, as an example, think of it this way. It's not you can afford it. You're just not making enough money to buy it. So if you look at it that way, yes, things are expensive. If there's something that you really need or perhaps even really want, because I cannot buy it, tells me that I need to work on myself to become more valuable of an employee or of a business owner or of a ice cream store shop or whatever the case is, so that I can generate the revenue to afford what it is that I want to buy. When I look at it that way, I put the responsibility back on me. I can't control the prices of things. I can't control inflation. I can't control the price. Maybe I can negotiate down the car at the car dealership by a smidgen, but the price is going to be the price. And if there's a car that I need in my life and I can't afford, that's a trigger for me to say, what do I need to do to become more valuable, to earn better income, or to have better savings in my bank so that I can go to that car dealership and write a check tomorrow and buy that item that I need in my life.
That is amazing. Reframe. Thank you so much. So many mindset shifts. Well, thank you for speaking with me. Have you heard of a man named Jay Shetty?
Jay Shetty?
Yeah.
I have not, no.
He's an author. He's got a podcast, motivational speaker. He ends his podcast with two segments, and I incorporated them to mine.
Okay.
First segment is the many sides to us. There's 5 questions, and they need to be answered in one word each.
All right.
What is one word someone who is meeting you for the first time would use to describe you as?
Calm.
What is one word that someone who knows you extremely well would use to describe you as?
Loving.
Number 3. What is one word you'd use to describe yourself?
Honest.
What is one word that if someone didn't like you or agree with your mindset would use to describe you as?
Competitive.
What is one word that you're embodying right now?
Outward focused. It's like a 2 words.
Then the second segment is the final 5, and these can be answered in up to a sentence. What is the best advice you've heard or received?
Who you hang out with is who you become.
Why is that the best advice?
Why is that? Because it's true. Because it's true. If I want to be greatness, if I want to be a great person, then I want to be hanging around a circle of 5 other people who are great. Not blah, 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 blah.
What is the worst advice you've heard or received?
The worst advice I've heard or received, that ice cream is good for me.
What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
That I used to value that I no longer value. Being a walking encyclopedia. I don't value that anymore.
And you used to?
I used to, yeah. I used to believe that was the value that I added in the marketplace, was being a place that people could come to and I would be able to recite rules and laws and regulations and a bunch of left brain spreadsheet analytical stuff. And I was wrong in that assessment.
If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be as if someone was reading it, what would you want it to say?
Okay. I just finished I'm going to give a longer answer than you think. I just finished completing an exercise that I'd never done before about 2 weeks ago. And that was writing my obituary to be published in the New York Times. And that was a very powerful exercise, And I recommend anyone do it because it will give you a chance to really control how you want the world to see you after you're gone. I want to do that while I'm alive so that my obituary can be amazing and magnificent. So I'm giving you a long-winded answer, but I want people to that I was there for them, that I was there to support them, that I was there to help brighten and better your day and be a better person, that I radiated positive, such strong, powerful, positive energy that your life would not have been the same from that point forward. That's how I want to be remembered. It's inspirational.
Wow. That must have been intense, though, writing
Yeah, it
your.
was intense. But it was creepy at first. And then
Yeah.
as I got into it, I chose to make it upbeat and happy and fun and humorous. And it was. And for my self-esteem, I stood up on a stage and I recited my obituary to a crowd of 150 people. And that was a great experience. That was a great experience. But
You,
regardless of the audience, do it for yourself. Do it for yourself, because your obituary is going to be written. It will be written one day. You just don't know when. And wouldn't you want to be the one writing it than somebody else that you either don't know or some family member who is in such deep sorrow, they don't want to be tasked with something like that themselves. You want to be in control of that.
wow. I understand that, but wow.
True.
Okay. Yeah, no, it is.
Mhm.
If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be? And I want to know why.
The law would be, you don't know what someone else is going through right now. We, as people in this world, we have a tendency to judge others. And I'm not a psychologist. Again, I'm not a personal development coach. My theory is that if I find myself judging someone else in a negative way because I happen to see the way that they are walking or their attitude or they're doing something that triggers me or bothers me, that me judging that person is my way of elevating myself above them, makes me feel better about myself. And that's not a healthy way to make me feel better about myself. So my law would be, you don't know what someone else is going through. We're all going through stuff that I'll never know and you'll never know. And that might be why I am behaving this way or why that person is behaving this way. If we just chill out and recognize that people are going through things that we have no idea about, maybe we won't be so judgmental, which will create a lot more peace in this world than there might be today. That's why that would be important to me.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. And where can everybody connect with you?
Thanks, Amanda. You can check me out on my website, selmeronfinancial.com. It's not a personal development website. It's a financial advisory website. I help people grow their monies so they can grow their life. That's, in my view, the strongest side of the peace of mind square. But I'm biased, but I do believe it. You can find me also on social media if you're looking for mini light bulb moment nuggets of wisdom. That's how I like to share my posts on Instagram and LinkedIn. So look for me there and connect with me there. We can stay connected that way.
Awesome. And I will link all of that in the show notes. And I do just like to throw it back to the guests. Any final words of wisdom? No pressure whatsoever.
Be a better person tomorrow than you were today. That's my definition of success.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Manders Mindset. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.